This episode of Creative Process is brought to you by Logo Serial. Logo Serial is a community-driven project that provides designers with bite-sized tasks to help them develop their skills. Each brief aims to challenge designers to try new styles and explore new areas of design through extension tasks. Each brief was written to simulate and reflect real-life businesses, and therefore, Logo Serial helps you build case studies for your portfolio to attract real clients. Real clients, people, real clients. Logo Serial also has a community of established creatives who offer their feedback and knowledge to help push your work even further. Join over 300 other designers and get started with Logo Serial today by using the link in the description. Again, join over 300 other designers and get started with Logo Serial today by using the link in the description. All right, let's get back to the podcast. Welcome back to the Creative Process Podcast with myself, Jared Klein. Today on the podcast, obviously you can see if you're viewing this that we have a guest, and obviously by the title, you see the man's name in the title. So, Brad, welcome back to the podcast. You're on last October, so it's been a while.
Yeah, last time we were here was in the middle of Justin Fields' rookie season. You and I were both supporting our team, so off season, a little more low key. I got my golf hat on. It's golf season now.
And you did notice that, I don't know if you did notice, but I took the lovely Packer flag that I had behind me. I took that down.
As you should have. So that's fine.
Actually, I don't think we've had like a video chat since I moved into my new place here. So actually, you probably never saw the flag. Maybe in the old episode though it was there, but
that's for the best. It's fine. No big deal.
Yeah. So today, the format, we kind of put feelers out on our social platforms and kind of, got a few questions and got a few topics to talk about. And we got a few in, so that's kind of what the format of the episode's going to be. But first off, I want to give you a shout out, sir. So for the people listening, go down below, check out Brad's links. Find out whether or not you want to reach out to the man after the episode based on how he responds to some of these, so you can use your your judgment on that. But all his links will be down below. I'll reference this at the end of the episode as well, just to make sure people hear it. But yeah, so is there a specific one you want to start with, or do you just kind of want to tackle things?
Not really. I mean, we've got like 3 questions we want to look at, so
that's true.
We're going to hit them all eventually.
That's
I would
true.
pick whichever one you want first.
Okay, so I think I'm going to go with the one that you screenshotted off of your Instagram, M. Bailey Designs.
Yep.
They said, for young designers, what's more important, learning skills or creating something each day? We can kind of just go, if we like, say your peace of mind, and then we'll make a conversation out of it.
So, I mean, I know we probably talked about this a lot last time. People know me because I did a 365-day project where I made something every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that now. But for young designers, like, without giving just the general answer of do both. Like, create something when you have time. I just made time to do it. Like, it was sort of a thing of like, you have time to make something every day, even if it sucks, and use that as a way to learn a new skill. So like, that's what I did. I went, I don't know what gradient maps are. Let me make a couple of designs over, maybe stretch it out. We're not going to put a lot of people put pressure on themselves to make something every day.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say a week. So go ahead and, just make something using, I'm just say gradient maps, to figure out how it works and what it does. That's usually what I do with things in Photoshop. So like, how does the selective color work? How do LUTs work? How does camera raw filter work? What happens if I move this slider this way? It's all experimentation. So the more you create, if you create something every day, doing that, you're just going to get to the end goal of knowing how to use that feature quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with like outside sort of design theory skills, making different compositions or playing with different typography. Maybe one day you make something where you just want to use one word and make that the big focus of a design, or something that I was trying to do in my Discord, like find a word and try and make the word look like that in Photoshop, like comfy, make a composition or something where the word comfy looks comfy. So when you look at it, it looks like that,
Mm-hmm.
or how can you evoke emotion with just typography? And you're going to get better at that the more you do it. So if you create something each day, you're just going to hit that step farther. It's like putting in 10,000 hours of work to become an expert at something.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to do it quicker if you do something every day. You don't need to do something every day. It's going to help you become a better designer.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you're putting in hours in general, and just make sure you're capitalizing on those hours by learning new skills, find something in Photoshop you don't know how to use and just go with it. And don't be afraid of what it looks like, because it's all about learning. It'd be like if I went out there and took a class, like if I went to like some little kid's basketball camp. Like I have no basketball skills. I know how to throw a ball at the hoop and shoot, but no handles. So it'd be like me, as someone in their 30s, like I have no handles, but the more I would practice dribbling like, a kid would, the better I'm going to get at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that applies to anything. I'm just using basketball as an example because it's something we can all easily digest.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my initial thought on that question.
I think it's like I think you put it really well last time too. It was like an athlete, if they want to get better at something, it's like they go. I mean, you used the example today. You go put shots up, or you go in the batting cage, or you go on the driving range to kind of go with your golf hat here today. You got to put reps in if you want to get better at anything. That goes with any type of skill or any type of thing you're wanting to learn. I think I feel like you wouldn't be wanting to learn a skill if you didn't want to. Let's see, how do I put it this way? If you're going through the process of learning a skill, you're not really going to learn it that well. At least this is how I learned. You're not really going to learn it that well if you don't do it every day. So I feel like wanting to learn a skill in the first place, that's going to entice you to do that every day. So I think they kind of work hand in hand. My answer is pretty similar to you. Like, do it every day. It's like,
yeah, you need the motivation behind it, regardless of how quickly or how frequently you do it.
Yeah.
I was always arguing when I got done with my 365. Like, I did that working a normal job. So like I worked 8 to 5 and then did it from 6 to midnight. Like that's when I really did a lot of the work, unless it was the weekend. So, everybody has their own stuff going on in their life. That's fine. If you don't actually have the time to do it, that's fine. And one thing I said when I got done with it, stop playing Fortnite. And that's how you know when I did my 365 was 4 years ago. It's like, stop playing Fortnite, put the controller down and make something in Photoshop,
Yeah.
Stop playing Warzone, do this. You can play Fall Guys later. I'm just naming random video games that have nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah. I pulled up Photoshop here real quick, and I'm just like looking at stuff that like I don't really know how to use it. Like I'm looking at the filters right now, and it's like, okay, the mesa tint pixelate under filter. Like I don't know what this does. I don't know how this works. How can I use this in a design to do something? So then I'll play around and just see what it does, and then figure out how I can utilize it in the future. You're just adding to your utility belt, as I like to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making you more of like a well-versed, I guess, asset at those at like your profession or at that skill that you're wanting to learn. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of like a no duh answer that we kind of just added material to. It basically just comes down, if you want to get good at it. If you want to get good at something, or if you want to learn something new, you're going to have to do repetition at it. It's just kind of what it is. That's the whole thing. Okay, so moving on. Giovanni Gonzalez on Twitter, at Joe Gonzalez 001. How do you learn something new when you're already one of the best at what you do? who or what is out there to teach you, comma, when you're a trailblazer in this industry. I don't think. Would you consider yourself the best at what you do?
No, I get what he's saying.
Yeah,
Um,
I do too. I just wanted to.
I mean, like, I think I'm a good graphic designer, and my work reflects that, and the hours I put into it reflects that,
Mm-hmm.
bouncing off what we just talked about.
Right.
And I'll incorporate some of answering the last question as well. Like, there's always stuff to learn. So, like, for me personally, I mean, who or what is out there to teach you? So, like, I've been out of college 10 years this year. So, like, I have 10 years of practical design experience in a workplace, um, paired with what I learned in college. So, I'll learn some things from YouTube, and it's mainly like theories on how to do something. Like, lighting is something everybody wants to get better at. It's like a new hot topic thing that's just like always been around. But like, and I mentioned this before we recorded, but like, if you go on Instagram and just search photo manipulation, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff that like Benny Production does, where it has nothing to do with sports at all. Maybe it's just like someone sitting in a chair and butterflies are flying out of a book, but it
Mm-hmm.
looks crazy realistic. Stuff like that is what I'm trying to get better at. And that's mainly from like, and the way I started with that was, like, Piximperfect has a video on YouTube talking about the inverse curves technique in lighting. You can find it on YouTube. Just search inverse curves technique. It's what I use if you've watched any of my videos where I make something look like it's in a scene. This is what I use. Um, but it's just learning from people online on YouTube. But I say that because I already have all this other experience. Like, I know a lot of the design theory and stuff like that. Like, YouTube's fine. I'll look and see what other people make. Like, Jonathan Ogstow works for Team Vitality, and he makes crazy, realistic looking stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I might have his Instagram pulled up now. It's like this dude holding this big glowy sword, or like even something as simple as six guys standing in like a field or like a desert, and there's like smoke behind them. He knows how to blend things together because he puts in time doing light studies and figuring out how does light hit my face, from if there's a light here or here, or if it's colored, what is actually hidden colored. So like stuff like that is something that I'm trying to get better at. My downfall with that is like client work coming in, and then motivation and really patience to sit down and do that,
Mm-hmm.
because I tend to work really quickly and I'm satisfied with like where I am in a design, but I could easily spend 3 more hours really, 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 really honing, how something is made.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Jonathan spends a lot of time doing lighting and tweaking each individual person. So a lot of it's sort of like patience with that. But I mean, YouTube is a good learning tool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then really I look and just see what other people are doing and just try and figure out how they made it or guess in my mind. So then if I wanted to use a little bit of something from that, I can go, oh, let me try and use something like this in my next design or something like that. Even, if it's a glowing sword, how can I make objects in the foreground also get hit by the same light source?
Mm-hmm.
So like that's something that I'm trying to get better at. So how do you learn something new when you're already the best at what you do? You're never, I mean, there's always room to grow. Um, this is a bad way to do a sports analogy because, like, oh, what does Steph Curry do when he's already the best shooter? He just keeps shooting. So it's really you just keep creating. Um, or, and I'll let you actually get some words in after this. There's always more to do. Like, I'm always learning. Like, I did some work for a client recently. I won't get into a lot, but it's a different way of thinking how they create these comps. It's not sports related at all. It's very photo manipulation, like I was just talking about. So it's stuff like that, and then um, figuring out how to best return a product to the client that they want with diversity, um, which doesn't help out really what I'm talking about with you guys. But there's always more to learn. So like with this client, it's me learning how this process works and how they go about getting final products. You know, it might be, you know, how do you make something that's going to scale on a 12 by 8, 12 foot by 8 foot wall? How is that going to work out? You know, there's motion design, which is completely different that everyone, that seems to be its own little avenue in sports, or even 3D design or animation. You know, there's always stuff that you can learn. It just depends on, where you want to put your chips in. You know, the more diverse you are as a designer, it's going to make it easier for you to get a job with folks out of college, or it's going to help you become a better freelance designer. And people are going to want to come to you because they know you're dependable, and they know that they're going to get what they're paying for, and they know what the product is easily because they see the work that you put out.
Yeah, I was gonna say no. I mean, like, yeah, you may think you talked a little bit there, but like, I mean, you explained everything really well. You know, there's I had a couple thoughts in my head while you were talking, and you touched on it, and I was like, there's nothing really to add there. You answered. I think you answered this question really well. I was gonna say, if you think you're the best at something, especially, I guess, talking design, if you think you're the best, you're the best at composition, or you're the best at lighting, there's always someone better than you, or there's always different techniques to learn. There's always, especially in design, there's, a way to do one thing, but there's a handful of different ways to do the same thing, and you never know if something's easier, or, something along those lines. And especially within design, like, there's, like you mentioned, there's so many different aspects of design to learn. You mentioned motion, and like that's a very marketable way to like add it, like to have in your tool set. It's a marketable thing for yourself, again, if you want to get employed or whatever your motive is. I guess there is a possible scenario where you're so honed in on very consistent type of freelance work that you only do, and you don't accept anything else other than example X or example Y, which then, I guess, if you're only doing this thing over and over and over and over and over again, you may be the best. I don't know how is there a way to measure that? I don't really know. But like you said, like, there's always different things to learn. There's always different, I guess, not really different, but places to grow, places to, put more focus into, or, whatever your, I guess, aspirations are. But yeah, I guess, like, just to round it all out, if you think you're the best, there's always places to go. Honestly, I would call you an arrogant asshole if you came up to me and you're like, I'm the best, and I was like, okay, I'm never talking to you again. That's just me. Like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but that's just me.
Yeah, I tend to think a lot of the designers that I know and talk to, like, that people would probably think are really great. Like, most designers are pretty humble. Like, I'm not a fan of folks who, you're not the best. If you think you're the best, you're wrong. There are a couple of guys out there that, like, I've seen their work, and like, if they said they're the best, I'd be like, yeah. Like, listen, I'm a president of the Design by Johnny fan club. Like, like, I like hype him up all the time. I've never met Johnny. He's just really good at what he does. He's one of the best at what he does, because he does lighting really well and makes photo manipulations really well. Now, have I seen other people's work who's probably actually better than his? Yeah, I have. But, like, you're talking about the top 5% at what people do. And you mentioned indirectly, you said InDesign. So, like, InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, like, you could learn how to use InDesign and then know how to do print, or how to use Illustrator. Like, I know how to use Illustrator. I wouldn't be able to make a good logo in Illustrator. I know how to do it. Like, I'm not good at making logos. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I can make you a logo. It's not something I like to do, and a lot of it usually has to do with the client not knowing what they want. But I don't have a lot of experience doing that. But, like, I would never be able to make that Rattler's hat that you have on. I wouldn't be able to make that logo, but I'm also not an illustrator, and that's the thing too. Is like you could always get better at drawing and then do that. It depends what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm content where I am right now, which might not be a good thing. You know, being content with how things are going, sort of stagnant with growth, but to each their own.
We already have 10 minutes left. No fucking
Yep,
way.
We've 10 minutes left, so we can move on.
Okay. I guess this may be the this may be the last question if we got a time cap on this. This may be the last question. Another one from Giovanni. I actually saw. I dove into the thread there. Another one. It's about pricing. His question was, do you reflect the value of your work in your pricing with specific clients, or do you charge the same no matter the client? I think this is a really good question about pricing.
So for me, and I sort of, a better person to look up to who's going to tell you about this is Chris Do on YouTube. He has videos about this.
Oh yeah.
But he would say price based on the client. Like, you're not going to charge a $2 million or a $2 million a year company the same that you would charge your brother, for a logo.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on budgets too. Like, I know how much my work's worth, and I'm going to charge that at a minimum. But if I make I'm making stuff up sort of. If I make my sister-in-law a logo, I'm going to charge her differently than if I make someone who has a company a logo. And a lot of it's going to depend on their budget. A lot of it's going to depend on. I mean, that's how it is. Like, again, I'm not the greatest resource at this, but like how I price stuff is, it depends on what someone's budget is, because you're going to leave money on the table if you charge them the same you're going to charge someone who doesn't have the same budget.
Mm-hmm.
So like I might be like, okay, well, I made this one design for $200, so I'm going to make you the design for $200, but their budget's really $3,000. It's like, oh, okay. Well, I just left all this money on the table. So that's how I tend to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually have more money. Bigger companies have more money and more budgets for this. And they're coming to you because they trust you'll get the job done probably first time around,
mm-hmm.
and they don't have to babysit you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. Like, so I know he asked, like, how much would you charge like the Burj Khalifa to make their logo?
Yeah.
And it's like I think it's in the video. It's like $2 million for the logo. And it's like, that's a lot of money. And it's like, yeah, but if you look at your revenue it's like one night half capacity is $2 million. So it's like, you're going to get that money back in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I tend to do that for some of the clients I have. Like I was looking at maybe doing like some work for a guy who works for a company that cuts down trees. So I was looking up like how much it costs to cut a tree down. And it's like, if I make you a logo for like $1,500, which isn't a lot. It is to some, I don't think that's really a lot for a logo. It's like, that's like two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Cause it's like $700 to take a tree down, which is, I feel like, is a lot of money to take a tree down. But like, that's how I go about pricing some stuff.
Yeah. I would tag along with you. It depends. I would say it depends completely on the client. And I think you need to gather as much information, especially when you're talking about money. You need to gather as much information, budget being, number one, to be able to price that out adequately, and I think value of the project 100% goes into it. Like you're saying a logo, like if you're designing a logo, that's the face of someone's brand. That's what they're going to be represented by. So like there's a lot of value there. There's a ton of value there. So when it comes to like social, like kind of like, I guess, sports edits, or let's just use that, right? Sports edits. I've never had to individually price that out. I've done hourly rates just because, I have a personal hourly rate, and then that depends on the client as well. But I've never like one-off type of, I guess it depends what it's for, where it's going to be posted, what the intent of the design is as well. If you're doing a one-off, you should know the goal and the goal and purpose of what you're designing. That would go into pricing things out as well. So it's more than just having a flat rate. You got to have details that are gonna, you have other things that you need to ask and other things that you need to know to be able to adequately price something out, and also make it justified too. If they have some pushback, make things justified and be able to stand your ground as a designer as well, and be able to back yourself up for why you're pricing certain ways.
And I think once you start designing more and more, projects will change it to be not just one-off. So like, yeah, you might charge $300 for a design, and that's just one piece. I think a lot of people put a lot of lower value on stuff like that just because it's so fleeting. It's on social media, it's gone tomorrow. No one cares about it tomorrow unless it has that emotional aspect to it, or if it's a huge highlight, something like that. A lot of times I feel like it's, we have X coming up, Aaron Rodgers is retiring. We need a graphic to say Aaron Rodgers is retiring. Like that's a big thing. Okay, I'll charge X amount of dollars. It's a huge deal. We got to make it look nice. But then, 2 days later, it's going to be gone off the feed. Whereas once you get more accustomed to doing design work or under your belt, you might do something more branding focused, where it's, all right, here's what your whole year is going to look like for the team. And you flesh out the whole entire look. And that's something you can charge a lot more because it's got a lot more length to it. They're going to be using it for 8 months if we're talking about an NFL team. Sort of like a logo. Like people are going to, like logos, top of the line, they're going to pay the most for it, you would think, because it's most important. And then you can trickle down things that are going to be less and less of a time exposure on their website, on social media. A whole brand's going to be there for months. A one graphic might be there for a day or two. And they might have, and the only reason I say that is they might value it differently because of that. But you're going to be able to get more money for that other stuff that's going to have more longevity to it, because it definitely is more important.
So quick thing, when you're designing like a one-off graphic, like the example, like Aaron Rodgers retiring, do you take into account how much reach it's going to have? Like, obviously, if they post something like that, it's going to be copied and reposted plenty of places, and even like, retweets, likes, how many players are going to quote that and everything, if it's on Twitter, let alone just Twitter and then all the other social platforms. Do you take that into account?
I don't, because you can't guarantee that. I was saying it mainly, the Packers probably know they need it to be like killer knockout of the park.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to send it to someone. Let's just say me. Going to want to send it to me to make sure it looks super good. I'm going to spend extra time on it as a Bears fan to just celebrate and bask in the glory of this happening. This is all hypothetical. It's just sad.
Yeah.
But no, I don't take into effect any of that. Usually with one-off projects for that, I get a budget from them, and I'm like, how much money do you have to spend on this? Because for me, then I can then spend X amount of time on it. I don't really deal with the X amount of hours. It's more of, hey, our budget's $400 for this. Can we get it done? And I go, yeah, sure. When do you need it? So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see we have like 1:50 left on this Zoom that we're using, so I guess we'll start closing it out. I think we answered questions pretty well, and those were the most, like, I guess, substantial questions with like a lot of meat to them that we wanted to answer. So I know we answered 2 of Giovanni's questions. So Giovanni, if you're listening to this, I hope those answers sufficed, and also people, if you're interested in that, I hope those.
This is Giovanni's episode.
Yeah,
congratulations.
I hope those were awesome. But anyways, guys, Brad, again, thank you for coming on. Especially, like, we've had to reschedule a handful of times here too, which that just seems consistent for some reason. I got to get better at that. But yeah, thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
No problem. I will let you take the blame for rescheduling. That's not a problem with me. I hope we adequately met the standards of these questions. I don't know.
Yeah.
We did the bare minimum.
But anyways, guys, thank you for coming out today and listening to episode 5 of the Creative Process podcast of season 3 here. So yeah, go down below, connect with Brad. Hopefully his answers today showed a little bit of his character and who he is as a person. So you guys can either be comfortable or uncomfortable reaching out to this man. I don't know how you
just
took
DM
that.
me. Literally DM me. If you have any questions, DM me. I'm on my phone way too much.
Well, there you go.
I'll probably reply.
There's your answer. But anyways, guys, hope you have a good rest of your day, good rest of your week, good rest of your month, whenever you are listening to this. As always, make sure you tell someone that you love them. All right. We will see you next time. Peace.